A very messy job, and it's not a fun job, and I don't envy George and his team having to do it.
I'm not going to lie to you, there was half a tree in there.
We didn't know what was behind it.
Did it break your grinder doing the job?
Oh, I'm so pleased. I am so pleased with the results.
This week, something is making people cough on the Crossing Cottage renovation project.
I mean, the dust, scraping out the old mortar in between the bricks, that's a huge job, a very messy job, and it's not a fun job, and I don't envy George and his team having to do it.
And this job has grown in scope since Tony had the cottage sandblasted.
One of the things about sandblasting, we didn't know what was behind it. Now you can see it's been repointed at some point, whether that was done 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, I don't know. So the worst bits of the pointing we were going to patch in, but then we're going to have a patchy building. Thinking, I don't want to try and make it all look beautiful and have these different patches of pointing in the brickwork. So we've now made the decision, and you can see where it's been raked out with their grinders or whatever tools they use. He's just done this section this morning, and then he's going to repoint it. And once it's repointed, that will be worth it when it's all done. It will just, again, it will really stand out and make it sing.
On scraping duty today is Connor, whose equipment is having issues with the scope of this project too.
Did it break your grinder doing the job? Did I hear?
Yeah, it did.
Grinder replaced, we get a demonstration of just how dusty a job this is. Meanwhile, Tony is getting a surprise as he does a final tour of the roof from the scaffold.
Oh, he's done this as well. Wow. Oh, I'm so pleased. I am so pleased with the results, and it's just really, really bringing it together. Well worth doing. Yeah, there was a big risk here, wasn't there, with sandblasting it, revealing all the rubbish behind it. But now we've got, hopefully, a cottage. It's going to look like a cottage.
On the way down, we get another surprise with a handy repointing life hack. Or is that brick hack?
Oh, you put it in with a bag? Yeah. It has stunned me, because I'm thinking he's going to be here with his two trails, kind of scraping it in, and he's just got a little piping bag. It's like he's icing a cake. How ingenious is that?
So you pipe it in,
and then you just rub it up with like a glove or just anything.
So you're not even using your trail?
I'm just using the no.
That's not a bad job. Are you good at making cakes?
No.
But you're good at icing cakes?
I must be now. I've never tried it, but...
Is that what you taught at college? Seriously?
No, not what you taught at college, but when I first started like doing a bit of repointing, I was doing it with a trowel and stuff, and it just takes ages.
Well, and especially you always, I guess you're probably getting cement on the bricks,
yeah,
aren't you,
it's
as
a bit
well?
dirty as well doing it with the trowel, so it's just quicker.
So when I left you this morning, I thought, you've got your standing knife out and you're cutting these bags, and I'm thinking, what's he doing? I had no idea, but that's of course what you were doing.
Yeah, it's much quicker.
Much quicker. It's brilliant.
A week later, the scaffolding has come down and the repointing is complete. Tony can finally see the cottage's first big transformation. How do you feel about how the cottage is looking now?
I think we've got the result we were looking for. It's really starting to look how it should have done or would have done originally. There are issues where you can now start seeing where the cottage has moved and it's not quite level, if you like. That's really starting to show. But that movement's long gone. That's all over the years. It's all been repaired. There is still a debate whether we have long-term damage to brick, of course, but that's now been repointed. So not only did we sandblast it's been repointed, and now the brickwork has been sealed as well, so it should stop moisture from penetrating through the brick.
The job of renovating the brickwork was led by local bricklayer and business owner, George.
Hello, I'm George from GC Bricklaying. This is a lovely little job. We had this cottage covered in about 4 layers of paint, as they always are. So we've had to sandblast all the paint off. As you can see behind me, expose the face of the brick. So we've repointed it all. Then we had to brick seal it. You need to weatherproof it with a breathable weatherproofer, certainly on an old building like this. If you don't weatherproof it with the right weatherproofing, you'll suffocate the building and the building will sweat. Soon as things get damp and don't dry out well enough, it sweats, holds the moisture, If you seal the damp inside the building, then it can only go inside, and basically then you get mould and damp on the inside of the house, which you don't want. The sandblasting took a little bit of the face of the bricks off, so they were really porous to the moisture in the air. We've sealed them to protect them.
But this wasn't George's first rodeo when it comes to Crossing Cottage.
Remember that disastrous chimney? I think people underestimate that chimney.
Yeah, the chimney was ready to fall over. I'm not going to lie to you, there was half a tree in there. Probably from something from these trees around here. A seedling's probably got in a crack and just started to grow. We had to take down a few bricks, replace a few bricks that were broken and cracked, and rebuild it and restore it to its rightful self.
It also turns out George knows a thing or two about living next to the railway.
At the bottom of the garden I've got a railway, and you get used to it. It's a bit like, would you live that close to a main road? People live on main roads. What's the sound like? And people don't really hear it. Exactly the same.
And how does Tony evaluate the brickwork phase of his renovation?
Look, we have opted for a sharp sand mix, whereas some people would have put lime back in and it would have been a different colour. But we just feel that in terms of stability, longer lasting, I think that's the right decision. Yeah, it has got a bit of more of a grey finish to it rather than it would have been a much paler colour. But it's the right thing to do. So once we put the new sashes in there and we tidy up all these window sills, it's going to look beautiful. I've got to stop saying the word beautiful. I use it too much, Paul. But it will do. It will do. If you look at it from front on, the railway side, it's starting to me to look like it should do. I'm very pleased with that. I'm happy. That's what I bought. That's what drew us to it. And I'm hoping that people, as they start driving by, are going to thinking, wow, that's starting to look really, really nice. I had someone in the village comment the other day, they didn't notice it until the scaffold went up. They'd been driven by for years, they didn't notice it was there. And we're now hoping that people will start to see, oh, you've seen how that cottage is developing, how it's unfolding and how it's starting to look good again. Or beautiful, as you know I like to say.